How does a leader really prepare their people for a future without them? It's a huge question. And we're about to look at one of the most powerful examples in all of history, the final days of the Prophet Muhammad's life. Now, this isn't just a story about an ending. It's really a masterclass in leadership, in how to manage a transition, and it's about that final, powerful connection with the community he built. So, we're in the 11th year after the Hijrah, and the Prophet falls ill. And during this illness, he says these words to his companions. And you have to understand, this was a huge deal. It was this profound signal that a massive chapter was closing. The direct line of revelation, that was ending. All that was left was this connection through true dreams. For everyone there, you can just imagine the incredible weight of that moment.
But here's the thing. Even in his final illness, every single moment was a lesson. And the first one was incredibly practical. It was all about preparing the community for what was going to happen next.
As he got sicker, a moment arrived that was, well, it was basically unthinkable for the community. The Prophet, the man who had led every single prayer for years, was physically unable to go to the mosque. This was the first clear sign to everyone just how serious this was.
And this is where we see just how deliberate he was. He gives the command, order Abu Bakr to lead the prayer. His wife, Aisha, she points out, Abu Bakr is a very soft-hearted man. He'll probably get overwhelmed with emotion, but the Prophet insists. He says it again. They mention it again. And he repeats the command a third time, very firmly. This wasn't some casual suggestion. This was a decision. So here's the takeaway. This was about so much more than just picking someone to lead the prayer for a day. He was actively and very publicly preparing his companions. He was ensuring the stability of this community he'd poured his entire life into building. And really, it's a huge lesson in leadership for any group. You have to have a clear succession plan if you want things to last after the founder is gone.
Okay, so with the community's future leadership kind of sorted, the story shifts, and it moves to one of its most emotional, most poignant moments, the Prophet's final look upon his people.
Just try to imagine the scene for a second. It's Monday morning. The community is gathering for the dawn prayer, and you can just feel the anxiety in the air. Their leader isn't the Prophet. It's the man he appointed, Abu Bakr. And they have absolutely no idea that they're being watched for the very last time.
From his room, which opened right into the mosque, the Prophet somehow finds the strength to lift the screen, the curtain that separated him from everyone else, and he just looks out at them.
The way this moment is described is just so beautiful. Think about it, a carpenter, after years and years of hard work, stepping back to just look at their finished creation, filled with satisfaction. Well, that was the Prophet, gazing out at the community he had built from the ground up, seeing them all standing together in worship, strong in their faith. We're told his face just lit up with pure joy. He smiled, because in that one moment, he saw it. He saw that his mission was safe, that the foundation he laid was strong enough to stand on its own. Now the companions, they see him and they're overjoyed. They think he's getting better, but he just signals for them to finish their prayer, and then he lets the screen fall for the last time. And from that public moment of reassurance, the narrative zooms right in, shifting to the quiet, intimate final moments of his life. In his final hours, he's resting against his wife, Aisha. The pain is intense, we're told. But even then, his focus was always on his connection with God.
And there's this one small detail from these last moments that is just so powerful. He sees someone with a siwak, which is like a natural toothbrush. And even with all the pain he was in, he gestures that he wants it. Aisha softens it for him, and he cleans his teeth perfectly. It's this beautiful final lesson that acts of purity, of worship, they're important right up until the very end.
With his head resting on Aisha, he raised his hands and whispered his final words, choosing to be with his Lord. And then he passed away.
The news, it sent an absolute shockwave through the city. The pillar of their entire world was gone. And just like that, the community was thrown into grief and total confusion. People reacted in all kinds of ways. I mean, how could you process this? Some were so stunned they literally couldn't stand up. Others couldn't even speak. And some, out of just sheer love and disbelief, they went into complete denial, refusing to believe he could actually be gone. And you can see these two completely opposite reactions in two of his closest companions. You have Umar, one of the strongest of them all, standing up and passionately shouting that the Prophet isn't dead, that he's just gone to meet his Lord like Moses did, and he'll be back. And then on the other side, you have Abu Bakr. He goes to the Prophet, kisses his forehead, and calmly accepts the truth, saying, You have just died. And it's in this moment of pure chaos that the leadership the Prophet had so carefully set up comes to the forefront. It was Abu Bakr who had to step up and bring everyone back to reality.
So Abu Bakr walks out into the mosque where Umar is still talking to this distraught crowd. He calmly asks him to sit down, and then he stands and begins to speak to the people with incredible wisdom and truth.
And this is so important. He doesn't use his own words. He doesn't try to reason with them. He grounds them in revelation. He recites this verse from the Quran, reminding them of something they already knew deep down, that Muhammad was a messenger, yes, but a human being, and their worship, their devotion, was for God alone, who is eternal.
The impact was instant. Omar said later that when he heard Abu Bakr say that verse, it was like he was hearing it for the very first time. His legs literally gave out from under him, and he fell to the ground, finally accepting the truth. Those words brought clarity to the chaos and pulled the community back from the edge, reminding them what their faith was truly about.
So all of this leaves us with a really critical question, and it's not just about history, it's about today. How does any community, any movement, or even a company truly carry forward the vision of its founder once they're gone? What does it really take?